Hi guys, Natalie Willis here, founder of Baby Sleep Trainer. I want to make a video that is the be-all, end-all, only video you will ever need to watch anywhere all over the internet. Not just kidding, well maybe. Of all nap transitions that your child is going to make, both from when they go into sleep training, starting as early as 4 months, if that's when you choose to sleep train, all the way through to when they are done napping altogether. The one thing that is the constant in the first year of a child's life is change and transition. So you will literally be pushed into a transition that you don't feel ready for. You'll have like a long period of time where things go smooth, and then you're gonna be pushed into another transition. And every time that happens, it can feel really stressful. So let's jump right in. So let's talk about the very first set of transitions, and that is when you're going to go from a newborn baby who sleeps whenever they want to, at any time they want to, because it's very chaotic, into a more formal schedule. If you choose to sleep train, and sleep training means teaching your child how to go down flat on their back, wide awake, with zero sleep props of any kind, and know how to go from being awake to being asleep without any help from you or anything else for naps and bedtime, so that when they wake up overnight, they're able to put themselves back to sleep. That is the Baby Sleep Trainer definition of sleep training. When you decide to do that, you can do that as early as 16 weeks counting from your baby's due date, all right? But you don't have to do it at that age. In fact, I tell my friends, if you hit 16 weeks and like everything's working for your family and you're like, yeah, I mean, things aren't perfect, but like I can survive, there's no pressure or reason to start at 16 weeks. If you at 11 weeks are like, I don't know if I'm gonna survive this because this chaos and this lack of sleep overnight is really killing me, and you're counting down the days, like a lot of my second time clients will text me when their baby is born and they'll be like, just so you know, I have that such and such date marked on the calendar, when can we schedule our consultation, right? If you're that parent, the earliest you want to sleep train is 16 weeks. But let's say anytime between around that 4-month mark through to the 7-month mark, you decide that you're going to sleep train your baby, okay? I'm going to recommend that you do a 3-nap schedule. I'm going to hear a lot of and a lot of pearl clutching, because we have another video that talks about overtiredness and this fear that parents have around overtiredness. You can watch that content if you want to learn more about that. But there is a very rare set of babies that will be able to handle 4 naps during the day and sleep solidly 12 hours overnight. So for that reason, I'm going to recommend that when you start nap training, anytime between the ages of 4 to 7 months, you keep 3 naps. Okay? Your baby's gonna learn how to tolerate these longer periods of wakefulness during the day, and that is going to contribute to better sleep overnight. And again, you can watch the overtiredness video if you wanna learn more about why your baby can definitely handle 3 naps, even though it seems like they can't. So that's really the transition, is that when you train them, you just train them to this by the clock 3-nap schedule. Now, when they hit around 7 months, you're gonna start to notice that they can't fit in these 3 naps. And here's what it's gonna look like. On the Baby Sleep Trainer schedule, I generally have families on an 8:30 a.m., 11:30 a.m., and 3 p.m. 3-nap schedule. So when your baby's 4 months old, let's say, it's gonna be tough for them in a lot of cases to make it even to 11:30 and to 3 o'clock. Usually that's because babies between the ages of 4 to 7 months, they generally take exclusively short naps between the lengths of 30 to 45 minutes, with some longer naps sprinkled in. And what happens is, as your child approaches that 7-month mark, 2 different things can be occurring, either in tandem or separately from one another. One, you may start to see that your child finally starts consistently having longer naps for 1 or more of those 3 naps. And or you will also notice that your child simply doesn't need as much sleep. So even if they only sleep from 11:30 to 12:15, they really just may not be ready for a nap at 3 o'clock. And in the Baby Sleep Trainer method, we talk about capping naps around 4 o'clock. Generally, sleep after 4 p.m. will make it harder for a child to fall asleep soundly at bedtime around 7 o'clock or so. I know, shocking, but really this is what tends to happen, is they can tolerate this long period of wakefulness before bedtime. But as they get closer to that 7-month mark, you may see that they're just not ready at 3. They're maybe not even ready at 3:30. So now you're like, oh my gosh, like they'll fall asleep, but they fall asleep at 4. And I notice that if they fall asleep at 4 and I wake them up at 4:30, man, they're having a really hard time falling asleep at 7 o'clock, right? Or what will happen is your baby may even seem ready for a nap at 3 o'clock, and you put them down and they can't fall asleep. They simply do not need to fall asleep 3 times in the same day. So this is when you know that your child is ready to go from 3 naps to 2. If you want to know how to do that, there is the detailed guide in the blog post. I would follow what's in the blog post. This video would be like, I don't know, 90 minutes long if I went into like a super ton of detail. Now let's talk about going from 2 naps to 1 nap. It's kind of similar. Let's say it's sometime around the age of 7 months, your child goes from 3 naps to 2 naps. Now I'm gonna recommend that those 2 naps, if you're on a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. schedule, nap 1 will start sometime between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. and nap 2 is gonna start sometime between 1:30 and 2:30 p.m. For reasons, once again, outlined in the blog post, you wanna make sure that their naps are starting somewhere between those times. Get this question all the time. They do not need to start consistently at 9 and 1:30. They can vary day by day. If your child normally sleeps from 9 to 10 and seems pretty ready around 1:45 each day, great, awesome, that's when they can take their nap. Let's say they randomly sleep from 9 to 11, right? Awesome. They might not need to go to sleep until 2:15 or 2:30 for their second nap, right? So there's built-in variation for that reason. Now, like you are experiencing when your baby is 6 or 7 months old, maybe when your child is 14, 15, 16 months old, you notice that, man, they're ready at 9:30 a.m. every day. They're so tired, they go down, they take this great nap, they cannot fall asleep for their second nap. You're putting them down at 1:30, 1:45, 2, 2:15, 2:30, and they are not falling asleep. You're giving them an hour. Maybe they're crying, maybe they're not, they're just not going to sleep. If your child skips 1 of their 2 naps, it does not need to be the same nap. If your child skips 1 of their 2 naps for 14 straight days, you are ready to go from 2 naps to 1. So that is how to know if your child is ready to go down to just 1 nap. Once again, how to do the transition is detailed in the blog post, so please check it out. Another thing that happens around this age group is a 10 to 12 month sleep regression where parents universally think their child is ready to go to 1 nap. I literally get like panic texts and emails from families that I worked with. Like, I don't think they're ready. I don't know, they're fighting this nap, and you think they're ready? They might be ready. Are they ready? We have a video, we have a blog post. Please read both, watch, read, so that you can educate yourself on why your child is not ready to go down to 1 nap in this scenario. What's gonna happen is your child is going to start to fight one of their naps. It's probably gonna be their second nap. And all this is not that they are ready to go down to 1 nap. They're just like, I'm flexing my muscles of my voice and what I wanna do, and you know what, I don't wanna go to sleep, and I'm just gonna fight it, I'm gonna stay awake. And I don't wanna do this. And then every 3 or 4 or 5 days, they're gonna take that second nap. And they can do this maddening behavior for weeks, sometimes for months. And it is absolutely maddening. And if you prematurely transition your child to 1 nap, you are robbing your child of sleep. Because if you would have just stayed the course, they would have gone back to taking 2 naps a day, like they're kind of needing and supposed to have done for months and months and months until they were actually ready to make that transition. Likewise, let's say your child is 14, 15 months and is skipping 1 of their 2 naps for 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 days in a row, and then they take a nap, and you're like, oh, we're resetting it all over again. You really wanna make sure that you are waiting to make this transition until the right time, because here's what happens if you prematurely transition them to 1 nap. Whether you do it at 10 to 12 months or whether you don't follow my guide of waiting for 2 straight weeks and you just do it at 13 or 14 months, your baby needs that second nap. And if you don't give them the opportunity to do it, they'll be fine for a little while, and then it will start to catch up to them. And then you're gonna find that they fall asleep in the car in the afternoon, or they're really like suffering this aggregate sleep deprivation over days and days. It can be really awful for the child because they actually aren't ready to go to just 1 nap. Another thing that occurs is when you make the 1 nap, 2 to 1 nap transition, even if your child has skipped their nap for 2 weeks, it can take usually 30 days, sometimes even more, for that child to sleep for more than 45 or 60 minutes. So it's very normal when you first make the transition for that nap to be really short. If you prematurely transition them, they're probably only gonna have a short nap, so they're really missing out on sleep. It goes much more smoothly when you just wait for your child to be ready. Please trust me. Last thing I'll say about this is that if your child is 16, 17 months or older, and they're doing this kind of weird erratic nap behavior, I would say maybe that's the exception of waiting for 2 straight weeks. If you have an 18-month-old who went 5 or 6 days and is kind of going back and forth, that's an okay age to push them into 1 nap. By the way, some kids will take 2 naps just fine for 20 months. If they're over the age of 16, 17 months still taking 2 naps a day and sleeping well at night, you don't need to feel pressure to transition them. They're okay to stick with that. So again, every child's different, so don't feel any pressure to do it. But if you want to, 16, 17 months, 18 months, you can go ahead and do it. The biggest kahuna of them all, the one that really stresses, you think the 3 to 2 nap transition is stressful, or 2 to 1? No. the 1 to 0 is very, very, very stressful for families. Just like we talked about the 10 to 12 month sleep regression where parents think their child's ready for one nap, but they're really not ready for one nap. The same type of thing can happen to a lot of kids in the second year of life. I remember my daughter turned 2 and I put her down for a nap, and for the first time in her life, she just didn't go to sleep. And I was like, what the hell is this? What are we doing? Are you ready? Are you done napping? She walked around, practiced her letters, tried to sleep, got up. She maintained this pattern of skipping a nap, and eventually it got to the point where she was skipping her nap more days than she was napping for the entire second year of her life. And I remember being so stressed out about this, but I knew first of all, I needed the break. So this child was gonna go in her crib. You want to be awake, you want to be asleep, like you're going in there, okay? But she would also eventually sleep on the 3rd or 4th or 5th day. So I was like, well, she's clearly not ready. And then she would have like a week of great napping every day, and then she would fight it again. So it was this horrible like pattern that I felt very frustrated about. But I decided she was gonna stay in that crib every day for at least an hour to rest. And then when she turned 3, I was just gonna cut the nap out, and that seemed like a reasonable way for me to proceed. But when she turned 3, I also decided to enroll her, so she did this her whole second year of life. When she turned 3, I decided to enroll her in morning preschool. I also had another baby at the time. At that time when she was 3, the baby was 6 months, and I'm like, perfect. She's gonna go to school from 9 to 12. I'm gonna drop her off at 9, come home, put the baby down for a nap, baby's gonna sleep, baby gets up. We go to school, pick up sister, everybody has lunch, guess what? Everybody sleeps again. His second nap was gonna line up with her single nap, right? So we make this transition, and guess what? She starts napping consistently every day. And from her 3rd year of life to her 4th year of life, in her whole life ever, this was the best sleep she ever got during the day and at night. It's like she finally hit her groove. She stopped fighting sleep so much. She was probably exhausted because she was in school in the morning. She would take this gorgeous nap in the afternoon, never skipped it. And I'm like, I'm so grateful that I kept her trying this nap every single day. That if your child is around 3 or older and having this behavior where they're fighting naps, so there's a couple things. Are they fighting their nap every day? And or if they nap, are they not physically capable of falling asleep until after 10 o'clock? So if you put them down at 8 and they can't fall asleep for an hour and they roll around maybe an hour and a half, that's normal. As long as they're happy, it's gonna stress you out, but they're fine. But if your child starts not being able to fall asleep until after 10 o'clock any day that they've napped, or if they are having issues early in the morning where they're waking up at 5:30, 6 when they were normally sleeping in later, again, they're over the age of 3, you might want to start thinking about this being the time to go from 1 nap to 0. I would say that even though it can be a little maddening, it's really just giving up that daytime sleep that can feel like a big change. But accept that in parenthood, anytime there's a change, it's going to stress you out. And just because it makes you anxious or stresses you out does not mean it's the wrong thing. It doesn't mean that anything is going to fall apart. It just means that you need to be prepared. You and your child will survive these nap transitions. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, please don't forget to hit the bell, because then you will get all of the new videos.